There's always a way through things if you work hard enough and look close. It all depends on your level of determination. This fork in the road happens over 100 times a day, and it's the choices that you make that will determine the shape of your life. Anything that is within someone else's reach is also within yours. Set your goals no matter how impossible they may seem. Then focus on what is between you and that goal. And then, simply take out the obstacles as they come. But avoidance allows you to believe that you're making all kinds of strides when you're not. Like my mother, I was always saying, "I'll fix my life one day." It became clear when I saw her die without fulfilling her dreams that my time was now or maybe never. I was inspired by a question that kept repeating itself in my mind: could I really change my life? I'd spent so many days, weeks, months, and years thinking about doing things with my life, and now I wanted to know, if I committed to a goal and woke up every single day working hard at it, could I change my life? In the years ahead of me, I learned that the world is actually filled with people ready to tell you how likely something is, and what it means to be realistic. But what I have also learned is that no one truly knows what is possible until they go and do it. I said to myself, what if I woke up, and every single day I did everything within my ability during that day to change my life? What could happen in just a month? A year? Instead, what I was beginning to understand was that however things unfolded from here on, whatever the next chapter was, my life could never be the sum of one circumstance. It would be determined, as it had always been, by my willingness to put one foot in front of the other, moving forward, come what may. Since as far back as I could remember, I'd felt that Lisa's responses toward me usually bordered on the brink of hostility. Years later, a therapist would explain that growing up with few resources had turned us into competitors over food, over our parents' love, over everything. At the moment, we were competing for who had the better handle on Ma's illness, and we both knew she was winning. If I want to be a loving, generous, giving person, I'm not going to test the waters. I'm simply going to be a loving, generous, giving person. The lesson that people can't give me what they don't have, and if there's anything I took from it, it was, okay, I don't really expect anyone to hand me anything. There's going to be me in the world. The more needy I kept myself, the more it would always be up to other people what happened to me. I decided I would make my life so full of things that empowered me. People like this woman would shrink away, until they disappeared from my sight. This was the environment in which I finally came to my education, the environment in which I knew I could no longer lie in bed and give up. How could I pull the blanket back over my head when I knew my teachers were waiting for me? When they were willing to work so hard, how could I not do the same? If I had a magic wand, I would live in a building in New York, big enough so my friends, my family could all have apartments in it. We'd raise our kids in the same space and have backyard barbecues and get old and fat together. Many nights, I longed for home. But it occurred to me as I struggled for a feeling of comfort and safety, I have no idea where home is. Life has a way of doing that, 1 minute everything makes sense, the next, things change. People get sick. Families break apart, your friends could close the door on you. The rapid changes I had experienced were hitting me hard as I sat there, and yet sadness wasn't what came up in my gut. Out of nowhere, for whatever reason, a different feeling snuck up in its place: hope. If life could change for the worst, I thought, then maybe life could change for the better. In this way, compared to some, I could have explained to Carlos, I had it easy. I'd been practicing all my life for this, carrying things. For others it came as a shock. No matter how exhausted we were or what slant he put on our situation, I was only breaking night, fending off the dark until the sun rose each day, when I'd start over, ready and able to do it again. As well as being blind, Ma turned out to have the same mental illness that her mother had had. Between 1986 and 1990, she suffered 6 schizophrenic bouts, each requiring her to be institutionalized for up to 3 months. Jean Murray, the box said, underscored by bold letters reading, head, and feet, to note the direction. Carlos knew how much that bothered me. With his black marker, he drew a flowing angel on the front of your box, and filled in all the correct information. Jean Marie Murray. August 27, 1954 to December 18, 1996. Beloved mother of Lisa and Elizabeth Murray and wife of Peter Finnerty. It's not that we didn't love one another, we did. I just think we didn't know how to be with one another anymore. No one had prepared us for this, for what to do when tragedy breaks up your family. We had no idea what to do when disease took hold, mental illness struck, when Ma died. And we weren't prepared for what happens when proximity no longer brings you together, and instead connecting became a matter of making an effort toward one another. We were doing the best we could with what we had. Ma was legally blind due to a degenerative eye disease she'd had since birth. This meant she was entitled to welfare, and our lives revolved around the first day of every month when her payment was due. My mother used to sit at the foot of my bed and she would share her dreams with me. Without a shared living situation to connect us, Daddy, Lisa, and I spun out of one another's orbits and made independent lives of our own that barely even touched. By the time I finished my first year of high school, the truth was, we barely knew one another. Life has a way of doing that. 1 minute everything makes sense, the next, things change. People get sick. Families break apart, your friends could close the door on you. Elizabeth Murray was born on September 23, 1980 in the Bronx, New York to poor and drug-addicted parents, both of whom would later contract HIV. She was surrounded by drug use from an early age and lived in an unclean environment. She was often hungry and ate ice cubes because it felt like eating. When she was about 9 years old, Murray began working jobs at gas stations and supermarkets to earn money for groceries. Her parents split up in 1994 and her mother and sister moved in with her grandfather. Murray lived with her father until their neighbor called the social services, who took her in custody for her own protection for 35 days. During this time her father got evicted from their apartment. Murray, her mother and sister Lisa lived with her mother's father, Liz's and Lisa's grandfather, for a few years, but at the age of 13 Murray was put in a group home for a while. She became homeless just after she turned 15, when her mother died of AIDS in 1996 and her father moved to a homeless shelter. She wanted to turn her life around and finish her education. Despite her late high school start and lack of a stable home, Murray began attending the Humanities Preparatory Academy in Chelsea, Manhattan, graduating in 2 years. Murray earned a 95 average and graduated at the top of a class of 158. She was awarded a scholarship by the New York Times for needy students and was accepted into Harvard University, matriculating in the fall semester of 2000. She transferred from Harvard to Columbia University in 2003 to care for her ailing father. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Psychology in June 2009. As of August 2009, she began taking graduate courses at Harvard Summer School with plans to earn a doctorate in clinical psychology and become a counselor. She has since earned a master's degree in the psychology of education from Columbia University. Her older sister Lisa graduated from Purchase College in New York and is a school teacher for children with autism. Elizabeth Murray is an American memoirist and inspirational speaker who is notable for having been accepted by Harvard University despite being homeless in her high school years. Her life story was chronicled in Lifetime's television film Homeless to Harvard, The Lizmurray Story 2003. Murray's memoir Breaking Night, a memoir of forgiveness, survival, and my journey from homeless to Harvard, published in 2010 as a New York Times bestseller.